The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
Consciousness has been enslaved.
Your consciousness does not need your physical body to survive.
It's the thing that's necessary. It has to be there. It's the coding that projects this world we currently live in.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
We got reptilians on just outside of our frequency zone.
Six-dimensional beings, the ancient builder race.
Ideas are the highest form of intelligence, and that leads you to truth and clarity.
The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
Conspiracy chill?
If obviously aliens, our galaxy is insanely huge. We're just one planet.
They would have needed a minimum of 6 feet of lead shielding in order to get through the 25,000-mile thick Van Allen radiation belt.
This is real. They really did fake the moon landing.
The world is infinitely older than that. And I mean the world with human beings in it.
Skull and Bones is like one of the villains in the Legion of Doom.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
The biblical flood, the Tartaria mud flood.
Conspiracy and chill.
The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
The bull god ball.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
There's magnets in the basketballs. There was a political party, a third party called the Anti-Masonic Party at a point in the United States.
The Global Pandemic Treaty.
Conspiracy and Chill podcast.
Conspiracy and Chill. And this time we have the Cult of Conspiracy co-hosts, Jonathon and Jacob. I've been on their show. We're doing a little Swapcast crossover here. Super stoked to have them on. Thanks for coming, guys.
We appreciate, doing this, and the Swapcasts are always so much fun. And I know that you guys are definitely covering a lot of crazy things. We try and do our best to keep up with all of the world's events while, uncovering like a lot of the conspiratorial, ritualistic nature of governments and all that fun jazz, CIA, and it's just fun to do these things together and have more eyes and more minds looking at all these topics to really get a better understanding, I think.
Yeah. And then I remember he told me, he's like, hey, we're doing a swap cast with this show. And I'm like, who's the show? Conspiracy and Chill. I'm like, it's not really ringing a bell. Like, what we talking about here? He's like, no, we know the guy. He came on our show, Tom. And I'm like, okay, Tom's kind of a basic guy's name. You got to help me out a little bit more. He's like, no, remember y'all talked about traditional fighting? I'm like, fucking Tom, dude, what? Let's go. I didn't even know that y'all had started a show. So when he told me that we were doing a swap cast with this, I was like, oh yes, let's go. Bring the boys, bring the whole fucking crew. We're doing this, man.
And this is going to be exciting for our listeners, I'm sure, because obviously if they're fans of our show, they damn sure are fans of your show. So let's go for it.
Yeah, let's fucking dive in then. All right, boys. So there has been a lot of crazy things that have been happening over the last few weeks. Obviously the bridge collapse kind of deal. We covered that, and the whole Diddy thing going down. The kids that are being touched on Nickelodeon. Fucking, it's never ending, it seems. And I wanted to see. So there's actually P. Diddy actually made an Instagram post. I don't know if you guys saw it.
No.
Watching it today, and he was just randomly sitting with a kid, I'm assuming it's his kid, on his lap in front of like this statue, and for no reason and for no context whatsoever, he was just naming a bunch of artists that he's connected to, and that's it. That's all he dropped. And like some of the names on there, you're like, ooh, basically to say, like a lot of people are suggesting, if Diddy goes down, he's bringing the whole fucking ship with him. And that's something that, friends close to him have said. Like, I ain't going to jail. Like, I'll kill myself before that happens. But maybe this is his way of just like, hey, just remember who got you where you are. Some of the names on there were like Sierra and Will Smith and Kevin Hart, like big names, dude. And so it's pretty interesting to see what is going to unfold from here. But I don't know. Maybe QAnon was on some shit a couple years ago, bro.
Honestly, with the P. Diddy stuff, and I'm sure you guys have seen the Ryan Garcia rants he's been going off on. We talked about that a little. It makes you wonder, though, too, like, are Ryan Garcia and Diddy just playing their parts now? Are they being kind of like set up to look like they're setting other people up and really just like displace the guilt so that everybody else can keep enjoying the same debauchery that they have? And maybe, Diddy did step out of line, or Ryan Garcia did, so now they have to do like a bit of a humiliation ritual. Who knows? John Cena going naked at the freaking Grammys or whatever it was. What's going on?
Kevin Hart, that's an interesting name because you guys remember just a few weeks ago, Cat Williams was all over the place blasting Kevin Hart about how Kevin Hart sold out and how he's done some crazy devious things to kind of get where he is. And yeah, man, I don't know, when you said Kevin Hart, that just kind of just stuck out there for me.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, look at Kevin Hart as a comedian. Have y'all seen his stand-up prior to like his big special that everybody saw on Netflix? Bro, he wasn't funny.
Not at all.
You watch any of his stand-up from the Comedy Cellar, from the Laugh Factory, his stand-up is out there on YouTube from when he first broke out. He was mid-tier. Like, it wasn't like he was dog shit. It wasn't like he bombed every time he touched the stage, but like, there was nothing that really made him stand out, right? Next thing you know, he almost idolized Cat Williams' style. Okay, not the jokes. He didn't talk about pimp things or nothing like that, but the way he would run across stage, the way he would do all this stuff. Kevin Hart, if you look at his old stand-up, he stood still in the center of the stage. His big special, he's over here dry humping the fucking stool, showing that he'll give you the best 10 seconds of sex of your life and all this. That wasn't Kevin Hart's brand. That wasn't his style of comedy. Out of nowhere, he goes off-grid, whatever. He's unknown. Boom. Cannot touch something without it turning to gold. All of that happened right after he appeared on screen in a dress. Now, I'm not saying the two are connected. The world is saying that those two are connected because for some reason, when a famous black man appears on screen in a dress, his career just skyrockets after that. Mathematically, it's been proven so many times. But yeah, to all of that, look, Diddy has been known to be a gatekeeper in the industry, but not just the music industry, because he also broke out in Hollywood in a couple of ways too. He has been seen as a big-time gatekeeper in multiple industries ever since Biggie died. From that, his weird ways, of which there are many, for sure, has been able to go undetected and not talked about because of his position and because he's the guy. But now that everything's coming to light, I think it's as we're talking about the election year coming up, and as we have all these wars going on and all these things happening, out of nowhere, these little stories are getting blasted right now. I think it's all very much by design.
It does kind of seem like, and not to keep on hitting on Q and white hats or anything like that, because I think that has gotten taken way, way, way too far and far too, like, it's almost turned into a damn religion, to be honest with you.
It's a cult. By definition, I actually think the Q movement can qualify as a cult. The only thing that makes it not is that people aren't like signing over their worldly possessions to it. It's like one or two little things off, but it's fucking close.
But I mean, they've called out a lot of things. And I mean, I would like to personally think that there are the quote unquote good guys that are bringing down all of this shit. But to be completely honest, dude, I listen, I love Tinfoil Hat. We got on their show and everything like that. But Sam Tripoli, he always says like, yo, it's basically like two mafias going at each other. Like there's not really a good guy. There's just like two bad guys. And, kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend in a way. But just to say like, all right, here's an example. Have you ever seen the Hunger Games movies?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, the Hunger Games movies, the last movie, it was like they were taking out President Snow, and this new person was going to come and create this new world, and Katniss ended up fucking shooting her too, right? Or shooting him, or I can't remember if it was a dude or a chick. But anyway,
I ain't seen the last one you did.
Me either.
Oh my god, it's been out for like 8 years, bro. Where you been?
I know, but to be honest with you, I probably wasn't going to see it. Hunger Games kind of fell off for me.
I probably saw the first one, maybe the second.
Yeah. I saw first and second. I attempted the third, and I was just like, if I read the books, I'd probably be like about this life, but it's too much. And then come to find out, they went way off of what the books were supposed to be. Like PETA was supposed to be like a Greek god looking thing, not that kid, but whatever.
That was some. I read all the books. I used to work offshore and we didn't get like good cell phone reception out there, so I would read all the books. And then when
that's why my brother got deported from Africa, because the Wi-Fi connection was so bad.
Oh, I don't doubt it. It sucked not having Wi-Fi, bro. Like
that's what led him to fucking get drunk and steal those buses and equipment and drive them into the ocean. He was so pissed off that the Wi-Fi connection wasn't shit. He said, "Fuck it. If y'all won't send me home early, I'll make sure you send me home early."
Your brother's a straight up fucking savage, dude.
I will say that Cody has not given a fuck since day one. Confirmed.
So anyway, I read the books and then I watched the movies, and they're pretty similar. There's a couple of different changes. I think Pete is a little bitch in the movies where he wasn't supposed to be in the books.
Right?
He actually, if you watch the first one, like PETA is really better represented as Gale, which is the Hemsworth brother. That would make more sense to me, but I don't know. The guy that plays PETA, he's full on like submitted to Hollywood and probably done like a lot of butt stuff in order to get where he's at.
Jesus, I mean, as I was about to say, come on now, don't be like that.
I mean, he does like he's admitted he goes both ways. So, I mean, that's probably, that'll help you rise the ranks real quick.
Well, okay, I was unaware. My bad.
Especially if you got a dress on.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So anyway, in that movie, the final one, everybody knows that President Snow, he was the one that kind of set up the Hunger Games and stuff like that. And so Katniss was really fighting up against him. And she was trying to take down the government because the Hunger Games were just like inhumane, right? And he just had too much powers. But then there was this other like government that was about to be put into place, and she saw that new government, the powers that be, were like, if not as corrupt, maybe more corrupt than the guy that they've been trying to fight the whole time. So she was like, fuck everybody. put a fucking arrow through that person's head, put an arrow through President Snow's head. It was just great. But and it's been a minute. I could be misquoting that, but that's what I remember from that. But I think that's really what we're working with here as far as the governments. Like, I think that they're just all corrupt, and everybody always wants to pick the good guys. There ain't no fucking good guys,
Right,
bro.
man.
I hate to say that. Like, even Trump looks like he's been replaced, bro. Have you seen the pictures of him? He's pulling off a whole Biden here, dude.
I think there really is fakes or clones or something of all of them. And yeah, I like to use this analogy as the way I see it too. Like, cause I think all voting is bullshit. Like, I feel like since the inception, American history is probably a lie if they were all Masons and Luciferians and all this stuff from its very inception. And who knows about resets or timelines and Tartarias. But the thing I like to liken it to is Star Wars, because when you're trying to get a lot of people woken up, like the esoteric and like the evil cult, or like the human sacrifice, dark Illuminati, for lack of a better term, aspect to that is like way too much of a stretch, and they'll just be like, no, that's not real. We got to worry about like capitalism and greed and these laws, and like, yeah, the country's corrupt enough, but it's not because of evil wizards. Like, guys like us are like, no, guys, like the Sith exists, like behind the scenes, like there's evil wizardry, like the dark side is real, it's just not out in the open. And they're more worried about, like, you remember that room in Star Wars, like the prequels, where there'd be like the representatives from every planet and on these like little disc things in this room, like arguing semantics and stuff, and like, oh, the Republic. Like, I'm like, you guys are worried about that. Meanwhile, the guy sitting on the fucking chair is channeling the dark side of ancient religion for thousands of fucking years, and you don't even believe in it.
See, all right, so I just had this conversation. I had two conversations all in line with what we're talking about right here yesterday when I clocked into work. So, young guy, just started our crew. Very, when I say young guy, I mean like 19, like young, doesn't know about the conspiracy world, doesn't know how bad we're fucked, right? He gets a general idea because he's, also grown up with the internet, but doesn't really get it. So, we were talking about like George Washington for some reason, and he was like, yeah, well, I mean, it's crazy to me that he could have been King Washington, right? The fact that he didn't do that. I'm like, you realize all he did was set up a Freemason style country, right? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, think about this. In the 1700s, there were no democracies. There were no republics. There was only monarchies in varying degrees, but there was kings at this time. There was only one organization that I can think of that was not religiously based that had presidents and secretaries and treasurers and this and like billet positions, not inherited positions. And the only one I could think of from that time frame would have been the Freemasons, because to be the grand master of your lodge didn't matter who your dad was. It mattered based off of your meritocracy. And nobody can be the president of the lodge or the headmaster of the lodge for more than so many years. It works that way on purpose. So when George Washington set up this country and he took on that role, of course he didn't want to be royalty. He wasn't of royal blood, but he did know how to set up a successful organization to run in this type of way. So essentially, you could argue that democracy is completely based off Masonic principles and values. And so that right off the bat kind of shook the conversation up. Then he asked me, so what's like the one conspiracy that everybody thinks is this, but it's really not? I'm like, yeah, let me just ask you this. Have you ever heard of adrenochrome? And he's like, what's that? I'm like, how about frazzle drip? And he's like, what? And I'm like, okay, wow. Well, let's go ahead and don our tinfoil hats real quick, because to explain what these words are, I have to explain 5 other conspiracies to you for any of that to make sense. But before I start this, know that it's all true. It's all verified. Then here's the thing. So I broke the whole story down, this and the emails and the Clinton and the videos and this. I was like, here's the deal. People think that the adrenochrome problem is inherently a liberal thing. Only the Democrats, these evil Democrats, are doing this adrenochrome and frazzle drip shit. First of all, that's not true. And secondly, they do the same thing, but for different reasons. Okay. Well, let me rephrase that. Same actions, different avenues of approach. Okay, the Democrats do it through media and through brainwashing means and with siding with this group and that group and this group. The conservative side does it in the way of warmongering. Okay, they do these same type of dark rituals and blood sacrifices and whatever, but they do it in the principle of starting wars that they can then back through funding the military industrial complex that makes them more money, which then gives them more power. So either way you slice it, it is in fact 2 wings of the same bird that is equally fucking all of us. And it's like, this isn't a fun thing to explain to people, but it's like, you know, when you really start looking into conspiracies, you might as well just go off into the deep end real quick. And, you know, I was like, you understand, this is Morpheus from the Matrix. I'm holding 2 pills in front of you with this conversation. Like, you asking me what is adrenochrome, I'm essentially handing out the red and the blue pill right now. You choose which answer you want me to tell you, you know?
Yeah, sometimes you got to baptize them in the conspiracy waters. You know what I mean?
It's not fun to tell the kids there's no Santa Claus, dude. But like when you ask a direct question like, all right, let's have this talk, young man. Let's go.
Oh, and also, once you start, I mean, because we all have heroes, right? Like whether they be movie actors or sports players or, you know, even presidents who have gone on, or generals to even say.
Sure.
Musicians, it doesn't matter. We all have some kind of icon that we love, and we can't wait until, you know, like for me, I was a huge Brett Favre fan, huge Packers fan back in the day, right? And, you know, there was nothing that I couldn't wait. Like if it was Monday Night Football and the fucking Packers were playing, dude, I was pre-gaming on my couch for 2 hours as like an 8-year-old. It was like, and now pre-gaming with like Huggies and Cheetos. But like,
say, boy, you pre-gaming for that like a WWE like 2 hours prior. We're still on the couch. Like,
hey,
we're
dude,
getting ready.
I would even get a little crazy, fucking snort a pixie stick, just get weird, dude.
Let's go, son.
I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Fucking hit your line, come up. The Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour. Oh yeah, like boy, you just snorted a pixie stick. Sit the fuck down, Dad. You don't understand, man.
It's the original booger sugar, but
fuck yeah.
But, you know, we all have these people that we look up to, and sometimes those people can do no wrong in our eyes. Yeah. It's, you know, it's once you kind of got to do a little bit of inner research within yourself, go within and not search so much without, in a sense, and be like, all right, like, am I looking at this person how I should be looking at them, or am I looking at them through these rose-colored glasses? Tom Hanks is a big one. Everybody knows that one, right? And like Castaway and fucking Woody from Toy Story, and now he's about to be, or he was already Geppetto, right, in the Pinocchio movie. And it's like, okay, so now once the curtains come down or come back a little bit off of one character, it then opens the door for, oh, wow, maybe this person's corrupt. Maybe this person's corrupt. How did this person make so many damn movies in such a short period of time? Like, what did they do? You know, and that's the fun stuff to really look at. If you remember, dude, fucking Will Smith was huge like 10 years ago, right? And now, where is he at?
Oh, he was the man until Jada cucked him.
Exactly, humiliation rituals, and you see this kind of stuff throughout all of Hollywood. It's nonstop. Guys in dresses, guys taking on roles that they shouldn't. Maybe public humiliation. Chris Rock got his smack in the face. Will Smith got cucked by Jada, and it's like, you know, what's his name? The comedian Cat Williams calling out everybody, and Who am I to say that Cat Williams wasn't originally a part of that whole faction in the beginning? And that's how he knows.
Because he walked away from $50 million 4 separate times. That's how we know.
That's what he says.
Good point.
I got a few things to say off of that. Like we were saying earlier, you pretty much can't be in like high up entertainment unless you've rubbed shoulders with these people, played along fully, or like kind of, you know,
paid your dues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like Ryan Garcia or Kanye or whoever else, Cat, like who knows to what level, or like when somebody does speak out, are they kind of just trying to like wash themselves of the guilt and admit it and throw it out there because they feel that's the right thing to do and they knew they were part of some fucked up shit and didn't really want to? Or are they basically Masonic double psyoping us or something like that? And
look at it with those letters. The letters with the Drake Bell situation and all of that, dude. Ryder Strong and fucking Will Friedle, Boy Meets Worldcast, they came out on their podcast later and was like, well, we didn't know the whole story and we didn't blah, blah, blah. First of all, bullshit. Y'all both knew this attacker for 2 decades apiece. Secondly, you were both in your 20s when you wrote this letter, and both of y'all asked for probation, no jail time. So it's like when you hear these people like later on, well, you know, we didn't. It's like, really, dog?
You know, I look at it in a different sense because think about it. There are people who have fucked their way to the top, who have killed their way to the top, who have sacrificed their way to the top. And maybe they did that in their younger years when they didn't know any better. Maybe now they're better people, but they have a dark past. And, you know, I mean, I guess everybody deserves a second chance, except for if you're doing that kind of shit. But also think about the people who are now reaping the rewards of all the negative shit they had to do. Well, those people are now going to stick up for the people that helped them get to where they're at. And so maybe, you know, from Boy Meets World, they put in their dues. They're not trying to go down with that ship. If that dude goes down, then he might bring us down. And so, you know what? Let's try and get probation for this guy. I think that that's most realistically the reason why they're doing that.
I hear that. And I get that, right? But at the same time, hundreds of people were sent like, hey, can y'all write a letter on Brian's behalf? They all said no, except for 41 people. Hundreds. Not just like 201, like 600 people were reached out to and only 41 came back. So that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like they reached out to 45 and 41 wrote letters. There was this many people that knew him to that level, knew the situation and was like, nah, dog, silence is golden.
Yeah, but those 41 people are, I mean, they seem like they're indebted. I'm not going to say that everybody, but like, who's to say that they didn't have parties at Brian name's house? Brian, who's to say there wasn't some weird parties over there? Everybody that went over there, they said his house was fucking weird, dude. He had letters from
John Wayne Gacy, dude. Fucking, he was pen
that's
pals.
creepy as fuck.
Good pen pals. Like that's a fucking red flag. Most people would see that and be like, bro, I'm not hanging with this guy anymore. But these people are just like, oh, we just loved him. Bro,
real life Pennywise, you know, it's like, why are you associating yourself with that? And then you're also around all kids with Nickelodeon and Disney. It's like, come on, dude.
And then he got hired by Disney. Anyway, okay, we're getting off on a tangent here. But to your point, Tom, to your point, yes, it's like you have to rub these elbows, right? You have to rub shoulders with these people and you have to pay your dues, not necessarily with money, sometimes with that ass. I mean, who knows? Ass, cash, or grass has always been the currency of the world last time I checked. But yeah, and it's like you have to do that in order to get to a certain position. And once they get there, it's like, all right, what do they do with that? Do they stay silent and they just like ride that wave? Because they did the shit. Like they went through the trauma and the abuse and all that to get to where they're at. Like, why are we trying to rock the boat? You know? But at the same time, some of these dudes are like, look, I may have done some foul ass shit to get here, but my conscience is eating me alive and it's time to come clean. I think both are happening at the same time.
Yeah. And like to get back to the masonry thing, like if our whole country is founded on masonry, which prides itself on playing both, you know, both heads of the same monster and order through chaos is kind of their thing. And they like to play every side. We just had our first Freemason on yesterday, but before we ask if you guys experience with interviewing Freemasons, I gotta say I've been laughing internally since you told the story of the visual of a new kid fresh out of high school coming, just getting ready to learn his new job at the refinery. Didn't know he was going to be forced to take a red pill, and he changed his life. He's like, there's this dude with this big beard at work, and he told me all this fucking crazy shit. And now he's looking down into the absurd.
So you know what's worse? This is my boss's son. This is the worst part. No, no. T-Sean, if you're listening to this right now, I swear to God, I'm going to see him this evening too. Great kid. Love him to death. But yes, this is my boss's son. And so he came in as I was telling him this. I'm like, what's up, boss? He's like, y'all good? I'm like, yeah, just telling your son about, the global elites trying to drink the blood of the innocent. Conspiratorial shit. He's like, all right, word. My boss is he may not be a conspiracy theorist, but he's also not stupid. He knows that there's some fuckery afoot,
Yesterday, do you guys know who Pat Miletich is?
The name's really familiar. Help me out.
Old school MMA legend.
Yes.
He's like coached and everything, and we knew that he was a Freemason. I figured he was like a low-level guy, and my theory is that the low-level Masons are basically like a cover-up for the higher up Masons. Like, they keep you at the lower levels, and where it is kind of just like charitable and like good dudes, like blue collar type of guys who actually are like, men of honor, and they think like, America's a great place and the founding fathers were badass and like good character, good spirited dudes. Like, he's a farmer and like a legendary fighter. I don't think he's a fucking evil occultist at the top. I feel like I've even heard that they ask you a specific question when you're getting through the early ranks of Masonry, like Blue Lodge is what he said, the first 3 degrees. Do you think that the few should rule over the many? And if you say no, they'd be like, oh, what a good upstanding gentleman. And they'll keep you at the lower levels. Like, that's what they wanted to hear. But if you say yes, then they're like, oh, well, this is the type of guy we could use. And that's when they started sending you up like the corrupt stuff. But when Mike first broke the ice with it, his response was funny.
Dude, I brought it up to him. I said, oh, yeah, so, you hold the distinct honor of being our first Freemason. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And the next fucking words out of his mouth, unprovoked, were, yeah, everybody thinks it's about Satan worship and stuff. It's like, whoa, like, really, where did that come from, dude?
Yeah, there's a few stigmas surrounding Freemasonry at its whole. And to y'all's point, yeah, I would even argue that from like level 20 on down is typically good, average Joe Blow type dudes. Actually, I'll say even 32 on down, honestly.
Yeah.
They're dude, and if you look at Freemasonry and the principles that they teach, it's all about making yourself a better man, a better citizen to your country, a better father to your children, a better husband to your wife. If you apply the Masonic principles, that's all it is. And it's applying this in new and better ways. And that's the whole thing. It's not like a chicken soup for the soul self-help ideology, but more or less, especially back in the day when it was incepted, these gentlemen from all different walks of life, some of them have literally never heard how to be a good person, how to look at philosophy, how to apply teachings to your life on a daily basis. A lot of them had never heard something like this. So of course they would act a little different. Of course they would walk with a different strut because they know something. They know something that their contemporaries don't, even if it was something small, something like, it could be something as simple as, hey, if you plant this plant at this month rather than this month, it'll grow bigger. Don't tell nobody though. Bro, he's gonna walk around like he's got the biggest dick in the locker room because he's got some sort of fucking knowledge, dog, that nobody else got. And then he does it, he uses it, it works. Psh, what you got? But yeah, the lower levels, I absolutely could see that. They ask, do you believe this? And based off of the answers, they funnel them in to where they're most useful for the order. I could absolutely see that.
And when you have like good guys, people will be like, oh, it's just a charity organization, or it's just like a drinking club. They just eating sandwiches and, hanging out and trying to do community work and network for their business. Like my uncle, my neighbor, they're good dude. Like that's almost like a perfect cover up too for anyone who's like, no, the Masons are up to this. They're like, yeah, okay, my 60-year-old concrete business charitable uncle is a fucking Luciferian. And no, we're not necessarily saying that, but then that makes it almost like covers the tracks having those ground level guys.
Sure. No, let me put it like this, dude. Y'all remember hearing about Jimmy Hoffa?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And this is a contrived example, but let me show you where this comparison can be drawn. Do we believe that every truck driver who is a part of the Teamsters Union is a corrupt, murderous person that's involved with the mafia? Every single truck driver on the road right now? Of course not. Of course not, right? However, the Teamsters Union's pension was used for nefarious means by nefarious people. That doesn't mean the truck drivers are bad people. The corrupt people at the top who was using all of that power and all of that wealth for their own means may have been bad people. You see what I'm saying? So put that to the realm of the Freemasons. Most of the Freemasons and most of your lodges around the world, they're not bad people. They're good people just doing their thing, trying to be better people within themselves. They're actually
dwindling in numbers big time too.
They are. They are slowly but surely dwindling away. But the dudes at the top who are in charge of that massive charitable budget, $2 million a day, $2 million a day, these people spend strictly on charity. You want to know what they spend on their own personal finances? You see what I'm saying? So like your lower level guys who aren't in charge of these accounts, they're not the bad guys. It's the top dogs in DC and in London and in Paris and in all these big cities where it's like the national headquarters of. That's where these people are.
Do you think the cashier knows about all the fuckery the COO is going on? You know, what he's got going on?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. If Walmart, come to find out, Walmart gets blasted for using slave labor and all this shit, blah, blah, blah. I'm not like rioting outside the cashier in the stock person's house. They ain't did shit.
Well, the thing is that it's a massive, I mean, originally it was probably just a big network. Like it's a networking, like you have connections to all these people, right? Like, you're going over the same literature that I'm reading. You understand what I understand. And yeah, we do all these good works, but I mean, the mafia did too. Let's just be real. We do all these good things, but there's secret knowledge to be obtained, and it's not for the masses. It's for the people who are willing to accept this knowledge as actual truth. And then you work your way on up to the ranks, and you keep on learning more, and you keep on learning more. Before, who knows? I mean, some people say that they've infiltrated the Freemasons and found out that in order to get to the 33rd degree, you have to admit that Lucifer is your god or something like that. I mean,
heard this, yeah.
Could you imagine, though? I mean, getting all the way to the 32nd degree, I don't know how many years that would take, but probably a decently long time, right?
Decades.
But you put in all that work and all that time, and you've labeled yourself as a Freemason. I imagine it would probably be pretty hard to then, you know, once you get up to that door, who's your master, who's your god? And if you don't answer that right, it's almost like maybe all your life work has kind of gone down the shitter. And so that's probably how they talk a lot of people into it. They got to warm them up to it. And this is where this information's come. It's actually coming from the light bearer. And that's how we got all this knowledge.
And it's like you said, bro, you've dedicated so many years of your life at that point to become a 32nd degree Mason. You have to have, and I don't know, like, I'm sure there's somebody who like holds the record. Well, they achieved this rank in 5 years. And like, I'm sure there's some sort of crazy outlier with some wild underhanded shit that went down that way. Because I actually know Masons, they've gone to these lodges. They'll do weekend seminars where you can jump up from the rank of like level 6 to level 23 in a weekend. Because you pay your little dues to get this level, and he just sits there and goes over this little packet of paper with you, and now you got the knowledge, and boom, this level, this level, this level. And it's like, bro, that is not the way an apprenticeship is supposed to work. That is not the way. This is not the way. You know what I'm saying? But these days, things happen a little off kilt. But to your point, to be like a 32nd degree, you have pretty much, you could be a state grandmaster. At that point, you could realistically be the grandmaster of your entire state at 32nd, and nobody would look down on that and be like, oh, you had to go that low. Like, that's a respectable fucking rank. That would get you, 10 years, 20 years, sometimes 30 years to achieve that. And by that point, you've dedicated so much of your life. It's not just the years in service, so to speak. All of your friends, all of your network, all of your boys, all your partners, all your business associates, you have cultivated in such a Masonic way your entire life to where whenever you are presented with that question, and let's say hypothetically, we don't know, we've never been there, but to say that they do in fact make you claim that Lucifer is God and all these things, at that point, dude, if you were to say no and walk away, you're walking away from your whole life. All of your contacts are shunning you. You are ostracized from your family, your tribe. And at that point, who would say no to this?
also you're set up at a point right there too. I mean, imagine you didn't know that all this information was coming from Lucifer, if that's actually what it is. Imagine you didn't know. Well, now you've taken so much time to do so much research, and you feel like you understand the fucking universe, bro.
Yeah.
And in order for you to make a decision to turn away, you now are not only turning away from the Brotherhood and all the information that you've learned, and all the good works and all the things that you've done and all the relationships that you've made. You're now literally taking a hammer to the glass that is your beliefs, bro. Your beliefs are now absolutely shattered if you don't move forward. So you can kind of see how they put him in that pickle right there.
Dude, what was Alfred Pike, General Alfred Pike, the one who wrote Morals and Dogma, and who also was a member of the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, and who also, like, he was a part of like 8 different like secret society.
One of the most decorated like occult guys for sure.
Bro, like he's in the top 5 under Aleister Crowley. Like, I mean, granted, Aleister Crowley is probably top tier as far as accolades and awards from societies of the woo-woo types. Fine. This guy, if I'm not mistaken, is like top 5, or literally wrote the book Morals and Dogma on how to be a good Mason. He even founded his own esoteric order, which is still followed today. It is not Masonic. It is full-on black magic. Same dude did these things. It's wild.
Yeah, dude. Same as like your boy from the Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall. We've had plenty of episodes on that, and it delves right into all of the Freemasons. I don't believe that he was actually a Freemason himself, right?
I don't think so.
Just like collected this information and went all over the place, really in like a way like Paramahansa Yogananda in that kind of way.
Yo,
did it more spiritually.
So you're talking about the Magician book, right?
Which one?
That's the Manly P. Hall. You're talking about the Magician, right?
No. That's the Secret Teachings of All Ages is Manly P. Hall.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The Magician is Philip Cooper.
That's the one. Okay, yo, the Magician. I had someone recently tell me, like, tell Jonathon quit talking about that book, and I'm like, okay, wait, you don't like it? They're like, no, it's pure demonic. Like he's reading.
It's not.
Look, this isn't Jacob. Jacob didn't say this. Okay, I don't know anything about.
Did this person actually read the book, or did he hear from somebody else?
I didn't go into detail with this gentleman, but he did say that this book, what you were reading on air, was pretty much you were saying satanic spells without realizing it, just by reading this book.
How does he know?
Look, I don't know, big dog.
No, dude. I read this book. This is a book that it was actually out of print for a very long time. Like,
that was the point of the conversation too. They're like, there's a reason it was taken down. I'm like, I mean, probably because it didn't sell. They're like, no, it's Satan. I'm like, oh,
so I can go join some Luciferic order, or I can join one of these secret societies, and that hasn't been taken away, but a book has been taken away. By the way, I read that book page to page. I did like fucking 7 episodes on it. I can recite to you exactly, yes, there are rituals, but everybody has a ritual, whether you know it or not. When you wake up and you roll off one side of the bed and you go do the same thing every morning, you go take a leak, you brush your teeth, maybe you comb your hair, you put some fucking makeup on if you're a girl, or whatever, right? It's like, that's a ritual. Like, you might not call it a ritual, but that's exactly what a ritual is. It's a fucking habit that you form so that it's just a thing that you automatically do. Now, it did get into like certain, it talks about the swords and the shields and the cups and, all the representations of exactly what it does to your subconscious. But dude, honestly, I was going over that. It's basically a guided meditation, bro. That's really what it is.
This, again, was not Jacob's words, but this person apparently said that book was pure Satanism. And I don't mean like Anton LaVey. They meant like straight up, you are communing with the Dark Lord. And I'm like, I will pass on the message.
Let me put it to you like this. Jacob, you always say it. If you're a hammer, everything's a nail.
For sure.
If you're a Christian, all other religions are the devil. Okay?
First of all, I resent that.
No,
I, as a Christian, resent that.
Come on, dude. How many times, dude? There was a long period of time you didn't even want me doing tarot readings.
I still don't.
Devil, right?
I still don't want you doing tarot readings because, again, per the book that I read, it clearly says those who deal with the game of lot or chance are dealing in witchcraft. So, like throwing bones or pulling tarot cards as a way to predict what's going to happen, verbatim says in my book that that's not to be fucked with. Now, look, I'm not judging you and thinking that you're obviously communing with Satan because you pulled out a deck of cards, bro. I'm not that guy. That's what I'm saying. I don't believe that everything else has to be Satan. I think there's areas of gray within, and I'm also not in a position to say what shade of gray something is or is not. I'm just a guy.
Look, and this is my opinion. My opinion is, unless you're calling on the Dark Lord himself, or if you're committing sacrifices in his name, it's not satanic. That's just my honest belief. Now, the Ouija board, that's a whole other thing.
Wait, hold on. I'm about to say, he answers even when you're not calling upon him, right? You know that.
I was going to say, it's kind of scary when you open it up. Other things that you don't want to come through could come through is what a lot of people get paranoid and worried about. And dude, I dabbled in all the like druidic and Celtic stuff. Like I ranted about that when I was on your guys' show before. I was all into that stuff, like basically like, pagan nature, ancestor worship type of stuff. And
which is fascinating. And
for sure,
many cultures throughout all of history have done that in many regards, for sure.
There's some spooky stuff. And I dated a girl who was like way too like literally psychic. I honestly would kind of like to get her on the show because like, I'm not even like bullshitting you guys. I can say 100% certainty, like witchy psychic stuff. And her tarot readings were just like, I don't know, dude. They fucking freak me out. Like, I don't want to be around them anymore either.
But is she really psychic? Is she really psychic?
Bro, no. I mean, like people like to joke about.
Is she psychic or is she what we now call a stalker?
No, there was just some shit that she should have never known, like, or had any way of knowing, and like hearing and picking up other conversations that like happened years ago in my house. Like, and she's Native American. This girl I'm talking about, and
what
she
tribe?
was very, I don't remember, and she wasn't like a full blood Native American. She was a mix of a lot of things.
Sure,
but
tribe called
she
Quest.
Was, dude, from a young age could like see. Honestly, I'll have to get her on because she's got some fucking wild stories, and she scared me and blew me and some of my friends' minds with some of the stuff she could know, like just very like paranormally sensitive. And I've heard you guys have had like some trippy ass girls on the show that have said like, oh, they can read people or they can like see parts of their past or their aura and like just wild shit that sounds so woo woo. But like, I can't even deny some of it because I was witness to it.
Sure.
Yeah, we've definitely had some people on the show. There's no doubt about it. We're not going to dive too far into that. We don't believe in trash talking, guests we've had on.
No, we've had guests that run the gambit, dude. We've had some guests that were like out of their fucking gourds, and we've had some guests that like were clearly on some shit that we can't explain. We've had all types of walks of life on this show, bro.
Well, this is the reason why I was so like, for the longest time, I wanted to dive into a lot of the spiritual things, because I think that in order to really understand what's good and what's evil, you really have to do your own research on it yourself. Like, how do you know who the enemy is if you don't know what the enemy does, how the enemy thinks? So let's just say there is an enemy. Well, I'm going to go down that fucking rabbit hole. I'm going to learn what that enemy does, what the tricks are, and all that jazz.
This is why I got into demonology at one point in time, dude. Specifically what you're saying. Fuck yeah.
Right. So, and that was the big reason, I wanted to create Meta Mysteries, was because I wanted to dive into all of the spiritual shit. I want to be able to absolutely understand it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm still very early in Meta Mysteries. We only just put out like episode 104 or something like that. Only been doing it since August, so I would be remiss to say that I know or I understand exactly what's going on. But I will say what my understanding is as of now, and maybe it'll stick, maybe it won't, but I honestly believe that whenever people talk about the devil or God, okay, you got these two figures, the devil or the God, the all-loving, all-knowing, everything, that's the God. Devil is like the exact opposite, obviously. If you really break it down, dude, and I'm somebody, I do past life regressions and everything, talk to the higher self, and I hypnotize you and all that fun jazz, right? And you start to really understand. This is my understanding. I'm not pushing this on anybody else, but you start to really understand exactly who the God and the devil are within you. And the devil is your fucking ego, bro. The one that thinks it's the absolute shit. The one that can do no wrong. The one that can talk shit on anybody and not feel any kind of bad way about it. It like the consciousness. There is no guilty conscience at all associated with that fucking thing. That's the devil, bro. That's the real devil. The God, that's whenever you're doing kind things, you're doing the kind works. And I believe that God is within all of us. But I also believe that if you want to call it, maybe the devil's in all of us too. That's the ego. And so I could be wrong. That's my understanding of it, though.
I mean, that is like the archetypical Lucifer traits, the narcissist, freaking, do no wrong and do what thou wilt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Which that's all Satanism kind of is more narcissistic, isn't it? It's all worship of oneself, and oneself decides everything, and it's all about me, myself, and I. And to your point, John, this is not me trying to combat you by any means. You and I have a very different set of beliefs on this one. I believe that we should not rely on human understanding, because human understanding is fucking human understanding, and we're dumb. So that's just me. And although there have been tons of people that have been born before me that are way smarter, I also understand that their limitations were strictly human. But I understand why people would look at the teachings and philosophies of wiser men and wiser women from years past and apply that to their lives today to find deeper meaning behind all of it. I absolutely respect that, for sure.
Sure. Well, I mean, you really want to get down to it. All religious works, all religious texts, they're written by the hands of men, dude. Like,
right.
We talk about Thoth, or we talk about the 10 Commandments by God and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've never personally seen them in my presence. I mean, I want to believe in them. I love all the spiritual shit. I never say, oh, I don't like that. It's stupid. I mean, unless it's
right.
Obviously, but that kind of stuff, I think that you're always just going to be pulling from human understanding from one, whether it's your own human understanding or somebody else's.
So that's where the faith-based conversation starts, right? So to your point, yes, every word written was written by human hands. Certain people believing different religions believe that their works, their written works, are divinely inspired. So while human hands might have written it, it didn't come from the human mind in that way. Some might say they were being channeled by somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
In other religions, they would say God was moving through them. Call that whatever form you want.
Sure.
So, but then on that, again, to your point, is that that's all faith-based. Like, you have to have faith that that's divinely inspired. You have to have faith that the word that was written down is, in fact, the word that got to you through years and translations and all of that. So, again, while I believe what I believe, I hear what you're saying, and I respect it.
Yeah, well, there's there was this book I wanted to, what is it called? The Rich, I can't think of the name of the book.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
No, it's like
fucking great book, by the way. Everybody should read that one.
It's okay. But as far as my screen just fucking
no, dude, that book will teach you how to look at the business world versus the real world. That's why I'm saying everybody should read it. It's not like it's going to change your life. I'm saying it should alter your perception on what is versus what should be.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm trying to look up this book so that I can quote it real quick.
Mike, what is your beliefs on all these things? We've had Tom on the show before. What is your religious beliefs, your dogma that you subscribe to? Where are you at with it?
Well, I was Catholic to the age of reason, which was like 11. I was forced to go to CCD. Yeah. I did all that bullshit. I was a curious kid, and I would ask questions at CCD, and I was too young to understand that these people didn't really know what they were talking about. They were just volunteers and thought they were doing the right thing. And so I would ask questions, and I would get in trouble and get sent down to the nun. And to make a long story short, that really soured me on it. And I always considered myself like an atheist, but as I've gotten older, I'd say maybe the last not quite decade, maybe the last like 7 to 10 years, I would consider myself like agnostic. Like,
sure.
I know there's way more to all of this. I just don't know what it is, but yeah, I can't put a finger on it. And it's weird too, because you hear a lot of people that have whether it's like they've overdosed or they've been in terrible car accidents, and they have like these like white light moments where they could have crossed over. And it's like, I've overdosed 7 times and never got to see any of that bullshit. So it's like, I wonder, it's like, is there something or isn't there? Like, I didn't get to see anything, and so many people have. What is that? If there is, like, what does that mean for me? It's like, I don't know. I do all this thinking about it, but I hope I answered some of it. I kind of rambled.
Yeah. No, dude. Yeah.
I always really looked at it as, and I could be wrong on this also, but I kind of see it as like, maybe what happens to you, as far as what's after this life, or, if you were to have a near-death experience or something like that, I think it's entirely based upon your beliefs, bro. Like that's honestly really what I believe, because you'll see some people who are, some people who are Christian and they'll have a near-death experience. They see Jesus. Some people who are, Buddha followers or whatever, and they have a near-death experience. You see Buddha. Some people who are agnostic and they really are interested in a lot of the maybe some of the Gnostic teachings or whatever the spiritual beliefs are, and they start to see something even like way different. Like they understand that maybe they're in the presence of God, but they can't exactly put their finger on it, but it seems a little bit godly in a sense. I don't know. But as far dating back to what you were saying, Jacob, as far as the whole faith thing goes, the book that I was trying to think of is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And
yes.
A fucking phenomenal book that everybody should read. Not only is it like great for like business, understandings and stuff like that, but towards the end of the book, dude, he gets into this chapter and he saved it for the end. And what he said is that, and if you're ever trying to grow anything, you want to grow a podcast, you want to grow a business, you want to grow a better relationship with your significant other, whatever, that there has to be a faith-based thing. And what he said is that he goes, and I don't mean faith in the Bible or in God or anything, but an absolute faith, almost a knowing that what you want to happen will happen as long as you take the steps in order to make that happen. And that, to me, like whenever I heard that before I even got into conspiracy podcasts or doing this podcast at all. And it was, dude, I mean, that clicks to me. And so I think that, whatever your beliefs are, that's kind of like maybe how your life is going to pan out in a way.
That's one of the books, dude. There's 3 books I usually recommend to people who are talking about doing anything business related, period. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. Those 3 books, like just read those and then begin your journey into business or whatever. And I promise you'll have a better footing than you even realized. But yeah, I'm just saying. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check some of those out for sure.
Dude, Dale Carnegie wrote a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking page turner. And he wrote this way back in the early 1900s. Very interesting how that applies today still. Very interesting. People have been peopling since day one.
I'm surely no businessman, but this is something I definitely wanted to talk to you about too. And I'm going to give a shameless advertisement here too for what I've been doing. I don't know if you guys have seen or know what I'm doing with the league called Wrestling Wars. It's like a promotion I do. And the way I kind of want it to be, we're still early on in it. And it's like on my YouTube channel, it's legit matches of like historical wrestling styles. Like the catch wrestling is the one that I've competed in. Then I got the Irish collar and elbow wrestling that I'm involved in reviving. There's another one called backhold wrestling that comes out of like
that's Scotland,
longsword. Yeah, exactly. It's like evolved from like the clinches they would do while fighting with broadswords and claymores and stuff. Like they'd end up locking up with each other in like an over under clinch. You'd have to hold the back, like when they.
That's what we swords. Do.
Yeah,
dude, in the Boo Hurt League, that's how a lot
wrestling.
of our takedowns happen. It's a lot of standing judo, and a lot of the clinch work is more or less different versions of a bear hug that you can throw your hips and get a guy down with. So fuck yeah.
And a lot of trips and stuff like that. And so we do a lot of different obscure, like older wrestling styles, and we keep it fucking fun and goofy. Like I say, I kind of want it to be like the crossover between the Attitude Era WWE and the early UFC, like just gun slinging fucking days. And so like the real matches, and I want the people to, we fucking make it funny on the commentary. I tell all the wrestlers, like, hype it up, be a character, like cut a stupid promo. And just like the mixed style matches are kind of gimmicky anyway, but one of the ones I'm planning on doing for this next one. So I have a lot of like foam weapons. Like I know that's like the soft kits for like what you do with the full armored combat and shit. And I'm definitely no fencer or anything like that, but I've gone to Ren fairs and I've fucked around with guys who are, and I like it. I study combat across all arts. I'm a nerd, and I have plenty of foam weapons. So this one I'm going to try and do a couple of matches for the people who are willing to do it of weapon wrestling. So the rule set I worked out for it, they'll have like their foam weapons, and then you can win the round by scoring 3 points. 3 points would be either a head shot or a neck shot. 1 point would be a arm or a leg shot. 2 points would be like a torso shot. So like, and you break after each score. So you can't like combo the guy or anything. Just like first hit like a fencing, and then you separate, you go again. But 3 points also would be for a takedown. If you can like clinch the guy and take him down cleanly without getting hit first, and you like throw him to his back, that would also score 3. So like 3 points would win it. Either a throw to their back off of like a bind, or a head or a neck shot, or you just tally up like the points from the body and leg shots, and it'll be like best 3 out of 5 of those. And I think that'll be a fun little gimmick. What do you think about that rule set as a night fighter?
So first of all, yes to everything happening here. So there is a group at the Louisiana Ren Fest. They're called Ordo Precintus. They basically do this. It's like rattan fighting, so sticks, but they do have foam and duct tape on them. Their armor is mostly very thin aluminum. It's like, I think they take like washing machines and they'll like cut out the portions and bang it out and like make it happen. It looks great, but it won't like actually defend against a metal hit, but a stick hit for sure. It's like SCA type, LARP almost. It's like harder than LARP armor, but below my armor if you want to find a mid tier. They do this style of fighting. So what they'll do is they'll watch for hand shots as well. So basically, if this would have been a fight-ending blow, they'll take that. So like, understandably, yes, in real life, you could have swapped hands and grabbed your sword over here. But like, if he would have cut your hand off just now, he would have gotten you before you had a chance to, like, let's be real here. So like, that stops the fight. So I love this. Secondly, where are you located again?
We're in Orland Park, like 20, 30 minutes south of Chicago.
Okay. Damn. I was going to say there is some night fighters actually around Chicago. And if you want, we could try to reach out to them and they could come in and put on like a bout for you in full plate steel.
That would be crazy. That would be fun as hell. Definitely down the line. Like this shit's going to pop off. I already know. And like, I have a vision in mind, like where we get all these podcast dudes. Like I know Mystic Mark used to wrestle. We hung out with Sam at the show, and like I tried to get him to roll around with me because he's done some jiu-jitsu now too. You got the night fighting. Maybe we got to do a absurd event with all the conspiracy podcast combat dudes and have a freak show, like mixed style fighting affair.
Let me ask you this, bro. Have you gone to like the Celtic Games? I'm sure they have some around Chicago.
I did go to one of the Scottish Celtic ones where they do like the caber toss and all, like the rock throws and all this strongman stuff. And I went and I met with an organizer, like, hey, you guys should be doing backhold wrestling too. Like this is part of it. Nothing ever really came of that. But with the Irish collar and elbow wrestling stuff, I just was at a place called Gaelic Park. It's like a Chicago Irish center. Yeah. And I did like a demo of the Irish wrestling. It was definitely more of like a WWE theatric for the crowd, like people drinking, just, hey, let's go up and like slam each other. We did some Steven Seagal hyping it up. And
the most Irish thing I've ever heard in my life. You went to an Irish event and started wrestling with a bunch of dudes and y'all just got drunk and fought all afternoon. That's an Irish afternoon if I've ever heard of it.
Exactly. And anyone who out there has never heard of Irish collar and elbow wrestling, definitely look it up. That's something I've been putting on blast. That's part of my life mission to revive that art now that it's out there, and it's pretty sick.
So I would say to look for hurling leagues. Do y'all have one around Chicago?
So that same place was that we were at. They have like hurling and Gaelic football and stuff. And one of the hurling players came up to one of my guys after, like, yo, we got to do some crossover, dude. You guys could be like our enforcers. And they actually used to do the collar and elbow wrestling matches after like soccer or Gaelic football games or the hurling matches to let the players kind of like 1v1 their differences.
Yeah, I would say do that. And then also with these Celtic games that get put on from time to time, get with the organizer and be like, look, I got 8 fighters. Like you have to like organize and get enough fighters to make this happen. But like if you bring 8 dudes, y'all set up a booth and y'all set up a little thing on your own and y'all have your own bracket system that is for the purpose of this day. We're seeing a lot of guys with the Armor Combat group. The Nashville team has officially have a successful cage fighting league.
Like cage in a cage fight with the armor and swords. Yeah, I've seen those. Those are the shit.
Once they finally got some decent sponsorship money behind it, Jägermeister finally sponsored the league. So like it's an official league now, right? Which is great, but they're only beholden to themselves. There's no like national league commissioner on this type of thing. So other groups around the country have found that like for Renfests and for other events that they put on, they just like show up and they just need permission from the place. and like, or from the organizer, but they set up everything. They set up the arena. They set up the chairs if need be. Boom, boom, boom. It's a lot of extra work, and it takes a lot of people to make something like that happen, but it does work out, you know? So I'm excited, dude. Yes. And for the principle of your wrestling style and using weapons as weapons of opportunity for the principle of not just combatives, but for grappling. Yes. 1,000% to this.
Maybe you'll be our champ for it one day in our crossover event.
Bro, I'm currently the Louisianimal. So if you, I'm just saying, the Louisianimal can make a trip up to Chicago to you know, slap some dudes with a stick. I'm down with it, dude.
Well, we're definitely trying to grow it. Yeah, he's already got the ring name, so let's go.
Oh, dude, I have a cape.
Oh man,
I have a fucking black bear cape. It's a whole thing. Oh yeah, no, I'm coming out as a fucking heel for sure.
So we got any sponsors out there that want to get on Wrestling Wars early? Hit me up.
Let's do it.
So you were talking about how you wanted to implement like 90s attitude era.
Oh, 100%, dude. I'll send you guys the link to the past events that we've done. You'll see the kind of vibe we're going for.
Y'all are having like promos and shit too?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've done some funny post-fight interviews, and a lot of the guys they're just like goofy grapplers and stuff that I know from around here, and they weren't ready to have like a camera stuck in their face. So it ends up just being like funny, coincidentally awkward and just stupid. But then there's some guys who go full like promo WWE character with it, like Macho Man shit. And
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But with real matches. So like these guys are scrapping hard under like different styles, and like the catch wrestling is literally WWE rules if it was legitimate. Like count for 3 on their back pin, or you tap them out. So like the next event too that I was gonna have those weapon fights. We're gonna have tag team matches. So literally like a real tag team match. Like if you can get to the corner, say the dude's like choking you, or you're about to get beat, but you can reach your partner and tag him in. It's just like WWE. Then they'll get like the 2 seconds or whatever to double team the guy. And then you can get back to the match. Whoever has the most pins at the end of the time limit, or do best 2 out of 3. Like, yeah,
bro,
we're running.
Are you ready for this to become the next big thing in this country?
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you think.
Yes, I am. Let's go.
Doesn't matter if you're ready. Let's go.
He's ready.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude.
The Louisianimal.
Fuck yeah.
I see you quoting all your Bible quotes, and I just came here to tell you that Austin 3:16 has a quote for you.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
Austin came to whip your ass, or whatever it was. Like,
fuck
dude,
yeah,
those
dude.
kind of old school quotes like that, like that's what made wrestling. Like the Rock, it doesn't matter what you say or whatever. It's like that's what made it so awesome. Like not everybody can really appreciate the, you know, the everything that goes into it. So, you know, those promos and all that shit talking, everybody can relate to that, dude.
Yeah, this one's on April 27th, and we're definitely gonna try and keep it going. It's pretty fun. I stream it on my YouTube channel. Again, I suck with that aspect, so I got my friend Ryan who helps kind of like manage all that and bring the stream together. Got a good little team helping me. Mike's helped film, and Mike was an MMA journalist as well, so I'm gonna stick him on some interviews and whatever else. We got all the pieces to make this a pretty big and fun thing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
I tell you what, if you make something happen for the fall time, I'll probably be able to drive up or fly up either way and actually participate.
And I want to eventually move around with it too. Like I don't want it to just be limited to Chicago. Like yeah, man, I'm trying to make this as international and as entertaining as it can get.
I got you, dude. Look, I got 2 sets of armor. So
Let's
like,
go.
yeah, I'm gonna bring them. And hell, even if I'm not participating, if you got 2 guys that are at least decently built to wear this, fucking let them get after
Throw
it.
them in. Yep.
Hell yeah.
That shit is heavy to wear, dude.
Like, they'll get a different appreciation about 2
man.
minutes of fighting in, but like they can get after it, bro, till their gas tank's empty.
Oh, dude, I'll give you 30 seconds of motherfucker. But after that, like, it's done. Like, I'm gassed all the way.
It's a bitch, dude. I get it.
I got a funny story too, staying on the pro wrestling. I know when Mike and I did one of our like first episodes, it's just him and I to like let the audience get acquainted with us. But I figured this is the conspiracy crossover right now. 2 shows with conspiracy in the name, 4 goofball conspiracy theorists in one room. Maybe we can all share the story. But I credit what made me a conspiracy theorist as a little kid. The moment that I really like, you know, lost all trust in authority or legitimacy is like when you're little and you watch wrestling, you like think that it's like watching the game, you know, like it's as real as it gets or whatever. And
this is obviously real life right now, bro. He just smacked the dude with a metal chair.
How could you fake it? He jumped off a ladder on top of him, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I was a huge Goldberg guy. Goldberg just killing everybody, dominating everybody, like undefeated streak, and I was all in on Goldberg. And when the biggest pay-per-view was going to be him versus Kevin Nash and NWO and shit, and he was still undefeated, and I was like begging my parents, get me the pay-per-view, like, come on, we got to watch this. I have to see this. And being a little kid, those things would run late, and I was just getting tired of the other matches and anticipation, and I eventually passed out as a kid before the match, which was devastating. So when I woke up without like TiVo or anything like that too, I didn't have a chance to like go back and watch it. No. And my dad would troll me like any fun dad does. He was just messing with me in the morning when he was reading the paper in the morning, having his coffee. And I thought that this was one of those examples. I'm like, so what happened? He's like, and my dad was a Scott Hall fan. He's like, Scott Hall came out and got Goldberg with the stun gun and then pulled the ref on top of him and made him win. I was like, no, he didn't. Like, that just sounded like another day of him fucking with me or something. I was like, no, there's no way that happened. Like, no, the league should have stopped it and like overturned it, you know, like that can't be allowed. And it's a title fight. Like, it's Goldberg's undefeated streak. That did not happen. Like, and then sure enough, that's what they did on the screen. Like, they had him come out, distract the ref, shock the ref with a taser, and pull him on top of fucking Goldberg while Goldberg was knocked out. And then
the WWE used to be fucking wild in the 90s, bro. Like, yo, what?
Oh, it still is, dude. Like, it's
massive mistrust of authority.
Now.
But like, your boy just brought a fucking taser into the ring. Like, bro, what?
That's when I learned life is fair game. Someone could come fuck you at any moment, and never been the same since.
This is back when Stone Cold would turn up 6 fucking cold ones on camera. No fucks given. This was a different time. You feel me?
We have a guy
now, like Logan Paul is hitting everybody with the brass knuckles and shit. Like, that is clearly, you know, not gonna happen.
We have a guy in Wrestling Wars who barely trains. Like, he wrestled in high school a little bit. He's just like a big, strong guy. He used to lift a lot in powerlifting. We call him Captain America because he's like a big, burly guy. He comes out belly out with a American short shorts, American flag bandana. And he's slamming beers in the back. I wish I would have got this on camera before. Slamming beers in the back before his match. Goes out and he beat an Olympian in judo in a catch wrestling match after just slamming some fucking beers and stepping out just pure American steel. And his other match too, I can't recall who he faced, but just smashed somebody after just pounding a few beers. I'm like, dude, this is one of my guys right here. This is
look,
we gotta get this on tape.
This is different type of fighting, okay? Just because like you're a good boxer doesn't mean you're a good wrestler. Just because you're good at judo and you know how to make pretty things where like I'm gonna hit you with the earth and like haha, yo, catch wrestling and back hold and these traditional glimma, I forget how it's pronounced. This is a different type of strength that you need to be good at these. I'm gonna be straight up with you.
Oh yeah. And like, you guys have seen those shows like Rough and Rowdy or Street Beef, like just
fucking love Rough and Rowdy, dude. That is one of my favorite
it's hilarious
productions that has ever been manufactured.
So
oh my God,
we're going to be like
got
the grappling version of that. The grappling version of that, because, you know, everyone likes watching a good technical fight in the UFC or boxing or whatever from time to time. But let's be real. People want to see some fucking chaos. They want to see two people, maybe if they're a little less polished and they're just going to throw down. That's kind of why I was like, the old UFC era was awesome because there was a lot more like heart in it. And like a lot of these guys are getting off the couch. They're former grapplers. They never grappled. It's literally just way more of a war. And that's why it's Wrestling Wars. I'm like, fuck it, dude. Every guy who went to war was not a elite fucking mercenary soldier. Sometimes the farmer picked up the pitchfork and the peasant was handed some armor and he was out there too. That's war.
Bro, this is a good idea. Greco-Roman wrestling is back. What's that one called? Not Placo. Whatever. It's like a more even traditional style of like Olympics style wrestling. That's coming back with a vengeance. I'm seeing sumo is getting more popular. I'm seeing all these traditional styles also getting their fair shake these days. You trying to get a competition of just wrestling, so like no striking.
Yep, no. Other than until we have this weapon one, that'll be the first striking, and I don't really plan to put on boxing or MMA fights because those there's plenty of avenues to do that type of stuff. And I don't know, the
Yeah.
commissioning involved is probably a little different. But yeah, we're going to have the foam weapon fight. Somebody might get a bloody nose from a foam weapon. They'll be okay.
Yeah. So I like this though. So it's just different wrestling styles and grappling styles. No striking, at least for the foreseeable future, for a little bit. And it's just to see which style of traditional wrestling is on top.
Yep. And if you're good enough to beat somebody across all the disciplines, be well-rounded.
So BJJ is not allowed.
Oh no, we're not doing jiu-jitsu. Even though I am a jiu-jitsu black belt, and I've done jiu-jitsu and martial arts for years, I've always had a problem with, like, going back to what we were kind of talking about before. There's so many things that are just like Masonic or culty in the way that they're set up, and like jiu-jitsu, I mean, it has direct ties to masonry. Yeah, no, and like the belt systems and the cult worship, and like I've experienced a lot of the negative sides of it, so I never really cared for that or put a lot of weight behind it. And again, there's so much avenues to do jiu-jitsu tournaments, and it's so oversaturated. And like, I went back to my wrestling roots for that reason. Like, I'd done nothing but jiu-jitsu for years, and I love it. It's a great art. It definitely made me the grappler I am. I still teach jiu-jitsu classes. I still roll jiu-jitsu all the time, but wrestling is just, it's a different spirit, man. And the spirit of this is definitely not jiu-jitsu.
Even like Asian jiu-jitsu, not Brazilian jiu-jitsu that came about in the last century. We're talking even the traditional, that's out too. We're talking strictly European traditional wrestling styles.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. But what I like about these two is they're more decisive. Like, until the weapon thing too, which is kind of just like a sideshow, and I could probably rework it too. There are no points in any of the matches that we're doing, like the collar and elbow, the back hold, or like, say, belt wrestling or sumo. It's very decisive. Like, okay, do this objective, you win. Get the guy on the ground, you win. Push him out of the circle, you win. Not like, okay, you passed his guard, you took him down, you held him there, okay, points. Or like, even like the Olympic styles of wrestling, like, yeah, they're great too. Plenty of avenues to do that, but it's like you're scoring points a lot of times, and that dictates the tactics. Or catch wrestling, okay, pin him or submit him. It kind of just like lets the action take care of itself versus like a points-based approach. So yeah, we're trying to keep it as close to like those primal, very decisive wrestling styles. I even want to throw arm wrestling in the mix, just because jiu-jitsu so often has the like stigma too of like, oh dude, you're using too much strength. Like, you need to use technique and leverage. And like, yeah, of course. But like, strength is like a backhanded compliment in martial arts. So we're like, no, fuck that. You need to be strong. We're throwing arm wrestling in the mix. And one of my boys is like a legit good arm wrestler. So I want to put that in there too.
I love this.
Dude, are you guys going to have some championship belts too?
Yes, I'm definitely looking to get that going, especially for tag team. And we have crowned a champion, and I gave one a crappy little plastic WWE belt. But oh yeah, all the good things to come. It's we're still babies with it. So that's why I'm saying, any sponsors out there, you wanna get in, let's go.
Jonathan, we simply must compete.
Yeah,
if there's belts involved, I would love to carry around the gold, bro. I would fucking tote that thing everywhere.
So I'll send you guys the events that we've done.
If I ever won like a wrestling championship or a fucking UFC title, like I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I just think that those belts are so fucking sick, and it's such a pimp move to walk around with one of those.
What's your favorite WWE belt of all time? I'm a huge wrestling fan too.
My favorite one of all time. It's not pretty, but the hardcore title was the motherfucker.
That was a cool. You know, they made that by smashing real titles and like piece that together. That's fucking cool.
That's believable. I didn't know that though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They need to bring that shit back though. Like, there's no reason there isn't a hardcore title.
Yeah, no, I mean, considering almost every match is like a hardcore match now, it's like, well, yeah, why don't you have a title? Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. I always was partial to the old Intercontinental title, especially like the white one that Shawn Michaels would carry. I always thought that was pretty cool.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Yes.
Who's got the one with a spinner?
That was John Cena's WWE championship. He changed.
I'm gonna be straight up with you. Look, I know that that's stupid, but for the sheer level of like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of my championship. Just fucking spin that bitch just for the balls of it. I have to say, that's probably my favorite one.
Bro, you know, it was disappointing.
The Intercontinental title, though, that's one of the prettiest belts out there. Even the current one is badass.
Isn't that Jake Paul's right now?
No, Jake Paul has the United States Championship.
Sami Zayn
Continental. Sami Zayn just beat fucking Gunther.
Sami Zayn.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't agree with that
Get
booking.
the fuck out of here with his bitch ass.
Me and my wife, we love Sami Zayn. Dude, you better watch your goddamn mouth.
Oh, what? Now that he's had his character arc and he's no longer rolling with the bloodline, now he's cool. The fuck out of here. He would still drop to his knees for the tribal chief if he said so.
Oh, fuck no, he wouldn't. He's
whatever.
He's a great worker. He's really good in the ring. I don't know. I don't know if he was the guy to beat him, But hey, I mean, he deserves it. He deserves it.
I was hoping it was gonna be what's his name, the little guy.
Hornswoggle?
Oh no, he's talking about Chad Gable.
Chad Gable, yeah. I was hoping it was gonna be him. So that's unfortunate. But they made a real good spectacle of it at WrestleMania. Him kissing his wife and his kid before the match, and then seeing Kevin Owens before the match, like that was like, I don't know. As a pure wrestling fan, like that was like. Plus, it was in Philadelphia, so it's like a Rocky moment almost.
Yeah, all right, so if you guys were gonna tag team, we already got the Louisianimal. What's your gimmick gonna be, Jonathan? You gonna come in as like the hypnotist, like magician man? That would be kind of sick.
So funny story. We just posted we've been starting to do this thing where we do the Throwback Thursday episodes. And we posted one yesterday, and today's Thursday, right? Yeah. So we posted one today, and I was listening back to that, and that was during the time that I was actually training to be a professional wrestler.
Dude, I was gonna say you were currently when that was dropped, you were training to be a semi-pro wrestler.
Come on, we need you in Wrestling Wars. Let's go.
Yeah, I would love that shit, dude. I've been a wrestling fan since I was like 4.
Dude, I'm telling you, we're gonna make a conspiracy division. All the other dudes within our community that have dabbled in wrestling, and I've had this conversation with, conspiracy theorist division, max inclusivity, our own space.
You and Sean would probably do better in a tag team. Y'all are both bigger dudes. I could be the hype man for y'all's team, but I would definitely get down with the weapon side of shit.
He's the weapon champion. He gets his own belt.
Might be the own tag team for no reason. The third tag team. Where did he come from? It's like, my scrawny ass jumps in there and acts like I'm gonna do something. We'll make it fun, bro. We'll make it fun.
Dude, I would love to Canadian destroyer somebody any day. Like
that sounds like a sex move.
Oh, dude, it's one of the most dangerous moves in wrestling. But
is that like a fucking Cincinnati steamer or whatever?
And what was the gimmick?
What's that?
When you were training to prepare, what was the gimmick? Were you like getting your character ready?
Yeah, I was definitely like, we actually trained as to like how we would walk down to the ring and what our entrance music would be, and if we were going to be faces or heels and shit like that. And I have always loved the idea of being a heel, like, because that's just, you can do and say whatever the fuck
it's
you
fun
want.
As hell.
Like, that's the people love the heels. And I mean, some heels, like, you're like, whatever.
They're annoying. Yeah.
You're not even a good bad guy. You just suck. And so, but I always love like the bad good guys, like Stone Cold and fucking The Rock in certain areas, and The Undertaker and Chris Benoit, and like they're like the traditional Chris Jericho. Whenever he was a heel, it's like I always love that kind. So I was actually gonna try and almost be a lot more like almost like a mix of Chris Jericho and Jeff Hardy, but also adding the flair of you ever seen The Greatest Showman? The flair of that, like, what's his name? Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. Yeah, and
wait. Now you lost me. Hold on. You were trying to be Chris Jericho meets who now?
Jeff Hardy.
And you were trying to do that in the realm of.
Yeah, so I liked Jeff Hardy's move. He's high flying and always doing the high risk maneuvers. I love Chris Jericho's fucking fuck you attitude. Okay. And as far as The Greatest Showman, it would just be kind of cocky, almost like kind of a similar get up to what Cody Rhodes is kind of walking out with now. It would just be, because Chris Jericho, he had this famous move called the Lion Tamer, and I just always, I don't know, I liked that kind of shit. So. Really, I wasn't trying to be like The Rock or John Cena or anything like that. Like, I just love the good mid cards, and that was always my favorite kind of wrestlers.
Dude, I'm gonna walk down that bitch wearing nothing but a fanny pack and a banana hammock like I'm about to fuck something up. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, dude.
I've always wanted to get a pro wrestling match in, even just one. Like, I've done so much legitimate grappling, and like when I was little, I thought for sure, like, oh, I'm gonna be in the WWE one day. Like, I'm gonna be when I'm a pro wrestler. Like, that was just in my head when I was a kid. And then like once I discovered MMA and like got more serious about like wrestling in high school and shit, I was like, oh, okay, like yeah, I'm gonna take the more competitive, serious route with it. But like, even though I'm kind of blending those two worlds with what I'm doing, I do want to do like a full on stage theatrical match, even if it was just like a one time thing. That would be a blast, dude.
Oh, dude, I mean, wrestlers, they're still taking real bumps. Like, when they go through a table, they're really going through a table. When they get hit by a chair, they're really getting hit by a chair. Now, they're giving their back so it, it hits the meat. But, dude, I'll tell you what. You ever got
want to take it? Yeah, no.
You ever got a chop, like one of those slaps to the chest? Oh, boy, that'll take the wind out of you. There's a lot of, like, crazy wrestling moves and maneuvers and all the shit they do. Like, that's why they all get pissed whenever you say it's fake. It's like, I was out for like 6 months because I'd have back surgery. Like, is that fake?
I'll put it like this. Right. Do you think that what stuntmen do is fake?
Right.
This is the same argument, right? Like, yes,
orchestrated. It's not fake. Yeah, right.
It's choreographed, right? But don't misunderstand. These wrestling dudes, these high flying guys. This is a 38-year-old man that weighs 270 pounds of solid muscle that is cutting triple backflips and landing on his back through a table 4 nights a week on repeat, year after year after year for like 4 decades. Like, dude, you gotta at least put some respect on the name. You know what I mean? Yes.
Brock Lesnar did a fucking shooting star, dude. Like, that's a big old fucking albino monkey, bro. He just climbed up to the top of the rope and did a shooting star. Like, broke his fucking neck, too, I think, by doing that.
He almost killed himself. He almost paralyzed himself. No, seriously, no doubt, Tom. I don't know if you've seen it, bro. But, yeah, it was at WrestleMania. It was Kurt Angle.
This past weekend? Or long time ago?
No. A while ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. He's never going to be in WWE again because he was mentioned in the Vince McMahon texts.
Brock?
Yeah, he played well, they didn't mention him by name, but what they said was a former UFC champion.
Well, yeah, who's it going to be?
We know it's not Cain Velasquez.
Right.
This is the only other guy it could be. So, yeah, he's kind of ostracized from WWE forever right now.
Well, it could be Ken Shamrock, right?
I suppose it could be, but I doubt it.
Who's the big black dude?
It's Ronda. Lashley?
Bobby Lashley, yeah.
He wasn't UFC, though. He was...
No, yeah. Everything
what
else.
Was he?
He fought in Bellator and Elite XC.
Thank you. I knew he was an MMA fighter. I didn't know which league, but yeah, okay. But yeah, this makes sense. Like, Brock Lesnar is not like a novice to doing dangerous shit with his body and putting his body through abuse and combat sports and all these things. That dude almost died performing a maneuver that was choreographed and practiced and all this stuff. So yes, while wrestling may be fake, quote unquote, and it may be a show, the abuse that these dudes are putting their bodies through day in and day out for years, even for the principle of entertainment, same shit as a stuntman that's been in the industry for 30 years. You think they're okay at the end of it when they're ready to retire? They are barely moving, dude.
There has been people that have died in the ring. You could, unfortunately, you can see them on YouTube. Rey Mysterio was involved in a match in Mexico with a guy that got paralyzed, and then he later died, like, from those injuries. It was, the guy was in a position almost to, like, receive a 619, and something happened where he landed wrong, man, and it took everybody involved in the match a few seconds to realize, like, dude wasn't moving. And yeah, man, what they do is real. It might be choreographed, as you said, brother, but what they do is real, man.
No doubt.
A lot of these things are. A lot of these sports, a lot of these shows, hell, even to backhold and grip, these types of wrestling, there's still danger in that. You can still get seriously hurt if you got some guy who has no clue what he's doing going up against somebody who is really good at throwing dudes. Like, he's about to get fucking wrecked.
Oh yeah.
Well,
if you don't know how to take it.
To kind of shift here, like how we can bring it back to, the secret societies and the government and all that kind of shit. It's like, the people who are really into wrestling, they're in it. They know that it's fake. Like, they know that it's scripted. They're in it for the show, and they show an appreciation for, the acrobatics and the people who have the ability to get on a mic and just say whatever they want and have it flow really well. But like, if you really take that mentality of your understanding of wrestling, if you're like a wrestling fan, you can use it really as an overlay to the rest of government societies, secret societies, like these people who are ruling the world, all these talking heads, Klaus Schwab, Joe Biden, Kamala with her fucking cackling hyena ass. And like there are like quote unquote faces and heels within this whole thing. And Sure, right now, a lot of people might look at RFK Jr. as a face. You might look at Donald Trump as a face. You might look at Joe Biden as the heel. But like, first off, Joe Biden's not even a good heel. He's like a fucking heel you don't even want to look at. And it's like more of somebody you kind of feel bad for, but you also want to make fun of at the same time. But
he reminds me of Sami Zayn when he was rolling with the bloodline. That's Joe Biden.
Right. But exactly this is like, we always say that, whenever we're looking into, who can you trust as far as the good guys go, just like in wrestling, those faces and those heels, they're all working under the same brand. They all got
to use that analogy a lot.
Right. And like, same thing in government, dude. The fucking left and the right's the same bird, just like you said, Jacob. And it's like, you start to really understand that, like, oh, some people are taking the fall for the other person to be propped up. And you see it all the time. Like, certain people will, kind of take a shit and, they might have been the shit at one point, but now they're kind of like, they're paving the way for the next generation kind of deal. And that's unfortunate. The government and everything's all set up that way, but like, it's a fucking brotherhood, dude, whether you want to believe it or not.
You could follow the rabbit trail, honestly. You look at from 2001, 9/11 happened. We go to war in Afghanistan. Which side of the aisle was pushing for more military spending, more funding, more war profiteering? Boom, boom, boom. That was the Republicans, like by a large margin. Yes, there were some Democrats that got some kickbacks too. Don't get me wrong, but by a landslide, the right was seen as the warmongers, but for sure. Okay, and how could they not be? Dick Cheney, vice president, was I think he was the CEO at that time of Halliburton, which was getting all of the contracts. They would predator drone strike a building just so Halliburton could get the contract to rebuild the building so Dick Cheney could get money, and it was trickling down that way. Look at what was being said 3 weeks ago. Who is in DC right now pushing for us to go to war? It is the left. The warmongers, the warhawks, are all Democrats right now. It is fucking insane. And again, to your point, faces, heels, this, that, left, right. I mean, look, we're using words here. It doesn't matter. Their paychecks come from the same motherfucker. That's all it boils down to.
Well, Roddy Piper from They Live has even said that's like, first off, that's my favorite movie of all time. And he was going on to say that it was a documentary, like he was like, it's not a film, it's a documentary, and died shortly thereafter. But he said like being a wrestler made him look at the world totally differently, because he was out there making people, hate him or love him, or just like completely see how easy it would be to manipulate a whole crowd and like instill a certain story or narrative to them. So then like when he just looked at the broad picture of the world, that's why he was the perfect fucking actor for that movie. And yeah, I wish he was still around. What a legend.
Fucking right.
Yeah, dude. I actually, you know what? I don't think I've ever even seen the movie, which is crazy.
No,
I've
bro.
seen like
it's so
clips and
corny,
stuff of
awesome.
it.
It's been years for me. I need to rewatch it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. One of the
I
best.
love movies that are so bad they're good though. Like
it
one
is
of my
kind of
favorite
corny
movies
bad,
of all
but
time.
that's a good part of it.
Super
Fuck yeah.
corny.
So one of my favorite movies of all time is this movie called Repo, the Genetic Opera. Have y'all heard of it?
No.
It's all right. You ever seen the movie Repo with Jude Law? And like basically they have to go in and repossess organs that people get that they can't afford anymore. Yes. So think about that, but way darker, way grittier. It's in a rock opera, and the big sister from Spy Kids is the lead character. Also, Paris Hilton gets her face cut off at the end of it, and her brother wears it as a mask for himself, and he takes over the company. It's a wild fucking experience, dude. And yeah, it is a horrible movie. The production value in it is trash, but I love it so much. And if they would remake it with like a $5 million budget, it would be the tits. But yeah, it's one of those that are like a cult classic because it's so bad.
Yeah, I actually have the fucking video pulled up for it, dude.
Which one?
For They Live, because
word up.
So many people reference this. This is the trailer, and so if anybody hasn't seen it, definitely go check it out. I'm gonna watch this today if I can find it on Netflix or Hulu or wherever it's at. But it's always referenced within the conspiracy community, almost like a precursor to the Matrix in a way. You know what I mean? And
yeah, it really is.
One of the
Iconic.
most 80s movies. explosions, mullets, big hair, dudes hip shooting fully automatic M16s because that happens ever. Fucking, I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum. I have to rewatch this movie now.
Dude,
holy fuck.
Yeah, so cliche, just awesome on so many levels. And I was gonna say that movie was like a top performing in the box office in its first week. It was like one of the best sellers of its time, and then by the second or third week it was out, they had like already pulled it out or dropped the amount of showings dramatically because it was making people unsettled and maybe ask questions that they shouldn't be.
Yeah, dude. And I almost look at like the newer kind of style version of that, like the newer age with the different kind of spin on it. Have you guys seen that movie called Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds?
No, what's the
I've heard of it, haven't seen it yet.
So fucking good, dude. Like, it's such a good movie. But basically, like, these people, they created this video game, and with the hopes that the characters within the video game, they would like turn into like they're essentially AI characters, but then they start to gain like a consciousness. And Ryan
Reynolds, sentient NPC.
Basically, yeah. But inside of that movie, Ryan Reynolds notices that there's within the video game, there's the good guys and the bad guys, right? And like a lot of the people who are committing all these crimes within their world, they're all wearing these sunglasses. And those people that are wearing the sunglasses now, as soon as you put them on, you start to see all of the motivations, like all the agendas, all of the, like, you know, whenever you play like Grand Theft Auto, there's like checkpoints and things that you have to do, and you know where to go. And like, you know, you'd put on the sunglasses and you wouldn't see anything in the real world, but as soon as you put the sunglasses on, well, now there's a health kit that as soon as you go pick it up, now you're full health again, or, you know, just shit like that. And it's really cool, but it reminds me, you know, of this They Live. And really cool. I highly suggest everybody go out there. And plus, Ryan Reynolds, I fucking love that guy. My heart would literally be broken if I found out he was part of the Illuminati.
I'm hoping that he's not, and he's just like this overly ridiculously good-looking dude who made it in Hollywood based off of that. Like, he didn't have to suck no dick or take it nowhere. He didn't want to take it to get these roles. I'm hoping and praying, man.
Yeah, that would really suck if he is part of that whole deal.
Yeah,
like,
man.
imagine if Diddy names him, or Epstein he's on the Epstein flight logs or something like that. You'd be like, oh my God. I would lose faith in every single person that I would ever watch on TV. If Ryan Reynolds is one of the bad guys, I'm like, everybody has to be.
This is the way I felt when I found out about Tom Hanks, and when I found out about these letters written from the Boy Meets World cast. That exact feeling of like, fuck everybody. Then it's like that from the top down. I'm not saying. Man. Right. Now, I'm not going to make the bold statement that 100% everybody in Hollywood's a piece of shit. I will make the claim that I believe 95%. I can honestly like feel that in my soul being an accurate number, because here's the deal. We just found out about Weinstein. Okay. We just found out about Brian Peck and Dan Schneider. Who are we going to be talking about next year or in 5 years? Some name that we didn't know about, but they've been in Hollywood since the 80s and they're super plugged in, and their list of people that they have had influence over or contact with or some leverage over comes out. We are only finding out one thread of the fucking cashmere sweater. You feel me?
Right. I've honestly kind of looked at Adam Sandler as one of those gatekeepers, dude. Like everybody that runs in his crew and everybody wants to be a part of that. What's the dude from Leave It to Beaver, Shooter McGavin, right? Like, yeah, he's like, you know, I wish they would make a Happy Gilmore. I would love to come back as Shooter McGavin, but he's like, you know, I'm just not a part of that crew, unfortunately. And like, you could tell he's like really sad about it. And it's like, these people are willing to do anything to be part of his crew, but it makes you wonder, like, what do you got to do to be part of that crew? I'm not going to sit here and, you know, suggest anything one way or another, because Adam Sandler, favorite actor of all time, but that would be understandable to me if Adam Sandler was part of something like that.
I see both sides on this one, and others like him, right? Because there's been others in the past that, like, when they come up, they bring their whole crew with them, right? And they make sure that everybody's eating. I've heard that that's the situation with Adam Sandler. He came up, and all of his crew, all of his comic buddies, all of his you know, his David Spades and his fucking, what's the guy from Grandma's Boy, and all of these, you know, he brings his boys up and he makes sure that everybody's eating. And whenever he like adopts a new one to his clique, you'll notice they also make appearances in like the next 3 movies he does. So I've heard an argument saying that the conspiracy behind that is that you cultivate such a friend group that basically even when you fail, it still looks great because you were able to displace that failure across so many people that were good in their own right. Think of like Jack and Jill. Okay. the argument for Adam Sandler on this one, that was a dog shit movie, but he had Al Pacino was fucking in it. You see what I'm saying? And like he had other people that were able to, while the premise was dog shit, his role was shit, and he knew it was. He knew. Adam Sandler knows funny, dude. He knew that was horrible, but he fucking sent it anyway. Why? Because he made money off of it, and because he had enough people in the cast to where it could displace that shit to where it at least be a net neutral. So the conspiracy being that he has made it to where he's almost impossible to fail. Now then, the other argument is that he has, quote unquote, cultivated this crew through some nefarious means that we keep hearing about in these documentaries. I'm not saying one way or another, but these are theories that do get thrown out with situations like this. And there's been multiple examples in Hollywood of an actor making it and his whole crew comes with him and it's a group like that. There's tons of that.
Is it possible that that could have been the humiliation ritual? I mean, think about it. He was dressing up as a woman.
I don't know, dude. If you've ever heard Adam Sandler stand up from back in the day, the humiliation ritual was long gone. Have you heard the Hanukkah song? Do you remember the talking goat? Like,
I loved it as a kid.
Yeah, I'm saying Adam Sandler appearing in a dress or like something like that. Like, I'm sorry, how are you going to humiliate that? He's a fucking stand-up comic that roasts his own religion for half of his set. You know what I mean? He's untouchable in that regard. And I think that that's also his saving grace. Comics that do it that way and come into it from the beginning, they almost self-sabotage themselves so much that they're untouchable from the outside world. The ones that do it right.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, but then
I don't know though. Because then you have also like the Kevin Hart that like tried doing it right, couldn't make it big, so he had to do some ritual to get to where he's at. The argument would be that Adam Sandler was good enough at it to where he didn't need to do so. He just successfully grew on his own. I don't know. I've never met the man.
I got one I'd like to hear from all of you. If we were going to divide celebrities into like 3 categories, that would be like the most surprising to find out they had like the highest rate of, you know, like we're saying, maybe not everybody, but most of them or whatever. Like which area do you think is the most corruptible or the least then? Like they might have some, you know, good insiders. If we're going to go like musicians, then actors and actresses, and then like sports stars. We will exclude like the lower level, like, you know, practice squad or like bench guys, but like the highest of the high of sports and stuff. So the athletes, the musicians, or the actors, which one's the worst? Which one's the best? I guess this is the fuck, marry, kill version of total debauchery, kind of okay, and maybe some good guys.
I think you got to look at it as everything else, follow the money, right? So who in those industries makes the most? So
that's a good question. I'm not even sure.
Right. So like in the music industry, the argument would be the producers, right?
Yeah, they're behind the scenes. They're all rotten. All rotten. We know that.
Exactly.
These are like the foot soldiers. Like, which troop is the worst?
And then it's
or
like,
best?
so how far does that spread? How many musicians or how many record labels are under this one shithead? I mean, dude, you want to talk about dirty business. It's all connected. And it's got, just because this one guy that's a part of this production, the board of directors for this one label or whatever, he might be a shithead, but everybody else might be good, but it doesn't matter because he's still got like controlling interest or some shit, or like ties to some family or ties to some mafia. And it's all dirty. Sports industry, very old ties to the mafia, very, very old ties to old money before like gambling laws were put in place. So when we're talking about who's got pull over there, like you would say the team owners and stuff like that, but man, I don't even know, honestly, because the owner of the team is only as good or as wealthy or as powerful as his team is popular.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Usually
Like
the most
Yankees,
popular team.
Right. The Yankees are going to be a dynasty for forever just because they're the fucking Yankees. And Yankees fans suck their dick so hard that they don't know any other way. Cowboys fans, very similar. Like their fan base is etched in stone forever, period. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter if they won the Super Bowl this year or not. The owner of the Cowboys holds some fucking power with the NFL. You see what I mean?
I think it's ultimately what's the most believable money laundering asset? Because you think about it. So, for example, there is a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson. Used to be the quarterback for the Houston Texans till he got caught up in all the massages in Houston, and with quotations for the listeners.
Right.
But he went through all kind of trouble. He was out of football for like a year and a half, and then the owner of the Cleveland Browns brings Deshaun Watson over for the highest guaranteed money contract in NFL history at the time, which was guaranteed. He could break his fucking back on the first play, and he's guaranteed $230 million, sir. 230 fucking, that's $250 million that you're bringing over for a convicted, well, allegedly convicted, rapist, like serial rapist. We're not talking about one or two people. We're talking about 20, 30 different women.
Right.
And he hasn't played the same. He's sucked ever since he got there, but he's guaranteed that money. He don't care. Hey, if he got like a hangnail, hey, I'm not gonna really, I'm not really feeling it today. He's guaranteed that money. Doesn't matter. And so
who benefits from him being on the roster, right? Who gets paid by him being on the field that day?
So here's the deal. Before all that, Deshaun Watson was a big household name. He was putting asses in seats. Houston sucked ass. The Texans were horrible, literally, until he got there. They were always horrible. And then he gets there and he's one of the great quarterbacks who can use his legs and also chuck it like 80 yards down the field. Very likable guy, seemingly. Clean cut and everything, and then he went through all that. I suggest possibly that the Cleveland Browns are trying to figure out some kind of way to launder money, because let's just face it, nobody wants to be in fucking Cleveland. And
why the Browns? Hold on, we're talking about the Texans. Why did the Browns just come out of fucking, what I'm saying? What just happened?
The Texans released him, and nobody wanted to pick him up because of all the allegations. But the Browns not only brought him to their team, but they gave him the highest guaranteed contract in history.
He's with the Browns now. Okay, so they're looking for ways of laundering money because no one wants to play there. Got you.
Right. Nobody wants to go to Cleveland. Like, being realistic, that's probably why Johnny Manziel became even more addicted to drugs than he already was. And it's just like, it's such a gloomy place, bro. It's Cleveland. I've been there. It's like, it's not great. And I'm sorry for all the people that live in Cleveland, but you probably agree with me.
Holy shit. Love you, Cleveland, all of our Cleveland Colt members and everything. But like, yeah, you're from a bullshit state.
Right. So I suggest that the owner of the Cleveland Browns probably went up to Deshaun Watson and said, look, we're going to, you got to imagine these people are probably great at all the tax loopholes and everything like that. He probably went up to Deshaun Watson, was just like, look, we're going to give you a massive contract, but because nobody else wanted to sign you and nobody really wanted the stink that you brought to that team and you've been out of football for a year and a half, who knows if you even got it anymore. We're going to make it look like we really still believe in you. And we're going to make it look like we actually care about you. We're interested in rehabbing you. We're interested in turning you into a blossoming citizen of the United States who is a great taxpayer and all these things, right? But meanwhile, they only brought him over for name recognition. They brought him over because, well, it makes sense to kind of give a guy of that athletic ability that kind of money. At one point in time, some people were saying, oh, dude, this guy is like the fucking Michael Jordan of quarterbacks. And so it would make sense to launder money through him. Meanwhile, he's just going to keep his mouth shut because the Browns are probably like, look, we know that you weren't exactly convicted of these things, but we're going to do everything we can with all of our lawyers to try and make it seem like you didn't do that. But look, we actually have the proof. And so they kind of, I believe that they probably cornered his ass and said, we got you. You're going to play for us. And we're probably going to give you league minimum, but we're going to say that we're giving you fucking, the maximum contract in order to launder money. And
so hold on. My question is, where did they get the money to launder? It's not like the Browns are rolling in it. They're failing as a team.
Oh, dude, no, they're not failing as a team. But every owner of, all the owners of these NFL franchises, they're billionaires, bro. Like the merchandise and the tickets and the ad space on TV and all these things, they make shitloads of money regardless. And
so why not Colin Kaepernick then? So I'm putting on my tinfoil hat here. I'm gonna throw a little stick in the mud here. If it was for the name recognition and for the ooh and the ah of it, and somebody with clear athletic ability and all of these things, why didn't they do this for Colin Kaepernick a couple of years ago, or even like 2 or 3 years ago? That's still like, if a team signed him right now, it would still make headlines. People would not stop talking about that right now. So if it was for that, why wouldn't any team just do that?
I mean, people, if you would sign Tim Tebow, you wouldn't be able to get the paparazzi away from you. He's not really a great quarterback. You know, he has heart, good guy. You want to like him, right? But he's not really great.
He peaked in college, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he got to give him credit. He did beat my Steelers in the playoffs one year, and that was really heartbreaking. But that being said,
I'm going to withhold comment because I don't want to piss you off. Go ahead.
Colin Kaepernick, and I know this, I might be stepping on some toes whenever I say this, but it's just my opinion. Colin Kaepernick was ass his last year or two in the NFL before he started doing all that shit. He he didn't start kneeling until he was benched. Okay,
that's right. So he was already kind of dog shit. He tried making it seem like he was some star athlete and like he was good now, but nobody wanted him because it wasn't like he was even good. Okay, I remember. Yeah,
you're not gonna bring over the clown show for very little return. And honestly, it's such a polarizing thing, you know, because it got political, right? What Deshaun Watson did. I mean, everybody can collectively say that we hate rapists, right? But like, it didn't make as big of a splash in the news like Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during that national anthem. And so
it should have, but it didn't.
It all got blown out of control, I think. I think they were just doing it for clicks and views, to be honest with you.
Didn't women's basketball just do something similar? Didn't they just walk off the court or something for the national anthem? I heard something.
Fucking LSU women's basketball did that, and they ended up getting their ass whooped in that game.
Well, good. I'm an LSU fan, but I mean, also, who the fuck cares about women's sports? Am I right? But like, fuck you. Right. Yo, get the fuck out of here with this shit. Like, yo, on some real shit. If anybody's like, that's bullshit. Would you rather find $5 on the ground or have your local WNBA team win the national championship? I bet most of the listeners don't even know if you have a WNBA team in your fucking state. That's my point.
So are you guys kind of thinking that the athletes then are some of the easiest targets then for the powers that be to kind of corrupt then? Because I'm thinking actors might be some of the best because literally they're actors. Like they're already masters at selling us the show. Like that's why it can be like, what? Not this guy. Like I love this guy's roles. Like he wouldn't do this terrible shit. But then again, most of what we know from him is acting, and maybe him outside of the fucking screen is just another act as well. So like I feel like a lot of the actors are pretty deep in it.
Hey, look, we all love Leo DiCaprio, right? But he's been an actor since he was a little kid, bro. Let's just
see the video of him and Brian Peck, dog.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that on the set of Growing Pains? Because Leo DiCaprio made an appearance in that show for a season or two. Brian Peck was friends with fucking Alan Thicke, TV dad off of Growing Pains. I don't know. I'm just saying. Their big thing is their next role, right? If they have a movie that kills or even does just generally well, and they were just a supporting role, they weren't even the lead. We're talking just a commercial actor, especially. What's that one blonde woman that's on like every single commercial? She's like the mom in every product commercial ever. Blonde woman. She played on Step Brothers, as a matter of fact. She conducted the interview where she told them to get out of her office. It was that lady. I don't know her name. But there's roles like that where it's like a personality where they're just constantly looking for more work. Okay, they're not looking to get their name in lights somewhere. They're just trying to make that money. Then it gets messy about what do you do in order to make yourself more marketable, quote unquote, so that you get cast for more of these small roles. But these small roles still put $20K in your bank account. It gets really messy. And again, you follow the money, and it's the same concept, but different avenues of approach. You see what I'm saying?
They got everyone covered too, for the most part. Like you might not like music. You're more of a movie person. You're not really a movie person. You're a sports person. So they really got like all the grounds covered if they're trying to hit us with their foot soldiers to send their message and stuff. And Mike, what do you think then? Actors, musicians, or athletes? Who's the most useful foot soldier for the shadow powers that be?
I think athletes, I lied. I think actors because I think they're psychopaths to begin with. So
To be able
They're
to put
already
on-
dealing with split personality.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know who the fuck they are. You know, I mean, actors are some of the most, and of course, when I say actors, I'm not talking about all of them, as we all know, but the vast majority of them, I believe, are head cases. You know, especially the really good ones, man. Doesn't mean they're bad people. My favorite musicians are fucking dope fiends.
Fair.
It's it's definitely got a lot of mental abuse on all of those, like the musicians' horror stories coming up, the actors' horror stories of just getting like MK Ultra trauma coming up, and I'm sure athletes are like no different. Like Ryan Garcia was kind of alluding to that as well. And to kind of bring it full circle, that's how you wonder, like, is it all of them? Is literally every one of them, even the ones pretending to be against it, just turning heel, turning face, and they're just playing their role, and nobody is allowed to get within these ranks unless they did one way or another pay their dues.
I think it's ultimately about who can generate the most influence, who's the most likable people, or conversely, who's the most hateable people. Anytime you get like a good villain on TV, a lot of times if it's a great villain, dude, they're gonna get so many roles.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna sell.
Right. Like it's all about what can you make them believe? And if they believed you in that movie, they'll believe your propaganda bullshit that you're pushing. I mean, just before, whenever Trump was facing Hillary back in 2016, every Avenger did a Hillary Clinton commercial. Don't vote for him. He's a man. Don't vote for Trump. And it's like, you fucking cuck piece of shit. Like, how much did you get paid for this? Like Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Black Widow, what's her name?
Don Cheadle was in it.
Don Cheadle, yeah. And the Hulk, which, I don't really like him anyway.
Ruffalo?
Mark Ruffalo, yeah. Natalie, who am I thinking of? What's the Black Widow's name? Scarlett Johansson, right. And they all did it. And, and it wasn't just them. It was all the big name actors. They were all jumping on board. So you see that they only push these people up because they have influence. Oh, Iron Man voting for Hillary? I guess so. I know who I'm voting for, because they prey on people who don't know any better. They prey on people who think that these people that they see on TV are actually, that's their real personality. People don't know how to separate real life from fiction. And so they have found a way to really make that bleed over and influence politics, influence, laws that get passed, and, Roe v. Wade, and how many actors, went in on that. These people, they don't fucking have a clue about shit. They know that they don't have a clue about shit, but they have that influence, and you're used to seeing that face. So that's what counts.
Right. And it's always so hilariously insincere. And I got a question for you guys. How many episodes deep are you guys now?
We're approaching 500. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
This will be episode 465 or 466, I think.
And about what episode count did it take until people were calling you guys shills or insiders or double agents or whatever? How long did it take for that you guys were, they're part of it?
We haven't had any really yet.
That's great.
We have a couple of prolific haters. We have like 3 or 4 haters that like go out of their way to like let us know that they hate us, which is fine. But as far as like getting called up, like part of the counter ops or some shit like that, so far so good. I'm actually looking forward to the day that happens.
I know, that's funny. That's having been a fan of your guys' show though, I've seen no reason to have thought that, but that just comes with the territory. Exactly.
Your haters, are they, I won't ask for names, but are they involved in the conspiracy community?
They hide behind pseudonyms.
Gotcha.
So we have a few that like they'll drop 1-star review and leave like a comment. We'll never hear from this person again. There's somebody that checked out the show, didn't fuck with it, let us know why and bolted. And I don't call that a hater. If anything, that's freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? Do you? If you don't fuck with us, that's dope. I'm sure there's someone out there you do fuck with. But there's a few people, not just off of reviews, but like they DM and they like try to spread shit. They, as far as we know, are not like haters from within the conspiracy community. They're haters that hate us specifically because of
and
personality traits and things like that.
Right, there's that. I mean, I've been called out for dumb shit. You've been called out for dumb shit. Some people love the show because of me, and some people love the show because of you. And like that's great too. But like, you get some people who are literally professional haters. They actually don't even hate us. They just love talking shit.
Yeah, and, for sure.
I see it. You want to be a heel, you be a heel, dude.
Any attention's good, right?
That's the thing, dude. Any algorithm hit 1 star, 5 star, good review, bad review, a play that they did like or a play that they didn't like. Bro, either way it goes, the algorithm saw the hit. It doesn't matter. We're happy as fuck either way it goes.
That's why you got to do some sneaky trail sun and stuff and mispronounce a name on purpose every single video. So the comments will just flood like, hey, you said this wrong. Like, but it's still comments in the end, which draws attention to the video and shows it's getting engagement.
Look, little trick to the trade, baby.
That's something that it sounds so stupid. Oh, you're manipulating people. Look, say what you want. It worked and he's getting paid for it. So, they're suckers. Sorry.
Well, this has been great, you guys. It's been a long time coming. Definitely hope to do it again. Awesome collaboration, swapcast. Stoked to do it anytime, really.
How can our listeners get a hold of you guys or get in touch with your guys' content?
So, obviously, we are the Cult of Conspiracy Podcast. We're available on all podcast platforms everywhere. We are on Instagram at Cult of Conspiracy Podcast. We're on Patreon at patreon.com/Cult of Conspiracy Podcast. Jacob runs the X account. And we also have Rockfin. So if you're somebody who is on Rockfin, it's rockfin.com/Cult of Conspiracy. And that's pretty much it for us.
The Cult of Conspiracy, guys. I'm Mike.
And I'm Tom.
Shit. Well, it was gracious of them to make time, though, for us, because as it stands, with some shuffling around, they're going to be the 25th episode. So only having 25 episodes in this podcast, to have those guys on the show, kind of a big coup. And that's all you're doing, dude. Good job.
Fuck yeah. I've been on those guys' show. They're super cool. I know you and I are both fans. I'm sure anyone who's listening to us had listened to them before we were a show, so probably plenty of crossover audience. Very cool to do that. Hope to work with those guys a lot more in multiple ways. For us being such a new show, we're coming in swinging with some of the guests we've had.
We had one swing and miss, but they don't know about that, so they don't need to know about that. It was weird. It was it wasn't like I thought it would be. It was, without revealing too much, we'll put it on our Patreon eventually for some of you syndicate members to listen to in its entirety, but essentially the guest was an expert in addiction, and instead of us kind of interviewing him and having a conversation with him and kind of controlling the conversation and where it went,
interrogated Mike.
That's all it was a fucking interrogation for an hour, so yeah, like I said, maybe some of you syndicate members can get a peep of that, but other than that, it's probably just gonna fucking sit on one of my hard drives and just fucking just age.
One thing I've seen, we finally have gotten some messages from some listeners, so keep it going. Good stuff. People who've reached out after hearing us in the Cult of Conspiracy crossover, or just from our other episodes, they've been getting some traction or views on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, YouTube especially. I see that we get new subscribers pretty regularly now, and every now and then, a couple times a week at least, we'll get comments on there, so that's pretty cool. Keep the comments on YouTube. That's one way to engage with us. You can also hit us up on social media, Subbuck Mike and Headhunter Higgins, whether it's Instagram or X, Twitter. That's more my groove. Instagram, kind of Tom's got that on lock. And of course, the podcast goes as Two Truth Seekers. So you could do that. You can shoot us an email, conspiracyandchill.com. All those different ways. Like, you could support the show by clicking on the little support the show link on whatever platform you're listening to us on. You can, as I said earlier, you could become one of the very first Conspiracy and Chill Syndicate members by heading over to Patreon. There's a link in the bio and the show notes. If you wanted to help us out and you didn't want to do any of those things, you could always just hit us with a 5-star review. Those really do help, and we really have noticed you guys doing that, so thank you. Thank you, fuck you, bye. That's Jim Cornette. He's one of my favorite wrestling podcast guys to listen to. Do you remember Jim Cornette from like the 80s and early 90s WWE?
And he's on all the behind the mat and stuff, shit like that, behind the scenes, like documentaries and stuff.
Oh yeah, he's been in a ton, and he actually there's a show on Vice, and it's called Dark Side of the Ring, and it's really good. Even if you don't like wrestling, I mean, it's
I've watched some of those,
and he is a frequent contributor to that show. Jim Cornette's amazing. I don't like when he gets political. I tune out, fast forward, because I'm not listening to you, Jim Cornette, for your fucking politics, because he is a raging Democrat. Not that there's anything wrong with Democrats. I am not one. I'm not a Republican either. But I feel like, hey, people are there for your wrestling, so don't use that platform to spew your fucking political opinions. That's just how I feel. Like, if we ever got to a point, dude, where we were doing crazy amounts of downloads, I wouldn't take that opportunity, and I wouldn't use that platform to spew my own personal political views to my audience. I don't know. I feel that's kind of dirty.
I mean, are we doing that by trying to influence the minds of the viewers by questioning everything and bringing on all these crazy things? Are we brainwashing them?
The thing is, with us, it's like, I don't know. Like, we're just having conversations. We're not telling our audience, hey man, these people are right, these people are wrong, these people are full of shit, and I can't, if you support this person, you're a fucking lunatic too. It's like, we're just exploring different ideas. I think there's a big difference between, you know what I'm saying, between the two.
Divisive figure. Yeah, I know. I'm just fucking around a little bit. I agree, and I have my YouTube channel, which is, I don't have anything like this on my YouTube channel, really. My YouTube channel is all martial arts and grappling and stuff like that. I just try to keep it separate for kind of the reason you said. If someone's there to watch my wrestling stuff and my grappling stuff, yeah, maybe they would like both sides. But we have this podcast. We have our YouTube podcast. I don't have to put all those beliefs out there for everybody that doesn't need to see it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like, like you said, it'd be like people tuning into a wrestling show that you were doing solely, wrestling. They were tuning in to watch you work out or wrestle, and all of a sudden you just stop for 30 seconds and just spew your own personal political ideas, and anybody that opposes yours are fucking retards. It's like, that's not...
Yeah, that's called just being a talk show host nowadays. That's what you need.
Exactly. You got nothing else?
Nope.
All right, stay away from pedophiles.